This is Human Essence. And even though I said I wasn't going to do another human factors video about the Adelson case or any of any of the trials that may come up or that have happened in the past, I am going to do one. And the topic here is vigilantism and ideas about culture, men and women and children, and how these may have impacted this case. If you look at the history of cultures that do not expect to have help from authority figures, you'll see that gangs and vigilantism and loyalty ties come about. For example, if you would look at Sicily, you will see that they went back and forth between the Italians and the French, and they could not expect any help from either of those people with their concerns. So say somebody stole something from you or something like that. If you didn't look out for yourself or have a bunch of people who helped you look out for you, you wouldn't get any help. So they came to rely on themselves, and vigilantism and eventually organized crime did develop in some ways out of necessity. We see that in other situations. We see also that there are situations where the idea that a woman should be with her children and that a man who is interfering with that would be putting himself at risk of vigilantism. So if you look at some countries, even now, countries that are part of the European Union, in, say, Malta, a man has absolutely no right to his children. There was no legal divorce up to a certain time, so if there are children, they go with the mother. And if the mother decides that the father should see them or visit them, they do. And if they decide that they shouldn't, that's it. So, and if a man were to take the children, there's no room for that in that culture. But in our modern day culture, fathers have rights, and there's states where 50-50 custody is the norm, and other states where it's fought for. There's issues of child support. So there's a lot going on, and that standard of best interest of the children can be quite complicated with lots of accusations of abuse and fighting and how money is tied into it. So what we see in this case is a number of people who were behaving as if they were in a society where vigilantism would have been the norm. However, prior to that, there were efforts in the legal system, and when those didn't work, well, a number of people who may have thought, oh no, this man's taking these kids, and he's using the court, and who knows how many ideologies, how much history came into this case to enable this horrible thing to happen. Perhaps, it would be brothers and fathers who would be fighting for the honor of the sister or the daughter, who would be seen as having no power of her own. That's something would have been happening hundreds of years ago amongst people who didn't have power. So then again, maybe not, but these are some things to consider. And I said I wasn't going to make any more videos about the human factors, and that is because there are 5 children who are impacted by this case, and we do not know the feelings of these children and what they feel for their parents and how scary it might be for them to be possibly losing their parents. We see that in the case of Denise Williams. Her daughter was an adult and felt that her mother was innocent and maintained her distance from her grandmother. So, out of respect for the choices of these children who will be adults in a few years and will make their own decisions, I don't want to become part of their problem. Thanks for listening. Then again, maybe not. Celebrate uncertainty.